one for the one and only DNVR. Two goes out to Zach, Mace, RK, and the bar. Three for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number four we're still waiting for, well, bring on the chase. Out on the field at Mile High, Broncos win is our desire. Coupled with Breck, Brew, and a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR. We are live from Studio A here at the DNVR Bar on a really sunny day in Broncos Country. A peaceful day in Broncos Country. And today the A stands for R, as in, are the Chiefs the worst team in the AFC West now?
Interesting. And of course, peace out, Tyreek.
And by the way, that's just a question. I don't know the answer yet. We'll get to that in the second segment. But first, want to remind you of our main presenting sponsor, MSU Denver Online, msudenver.edu/online, where you should go to check out all they have to offer. And they have a lot to offer. 750 total classes, 45 plus online and hybrid programs. Check them out, msudenver.edu/online today.
My boys, what a day in Denver. Ryan, it's sunny and it's also windy as can be. I think those trade winds are blowing through Kansas City as well and just swept Tyreek Hill out of the AFC West.
He is a little guy.
He is. Wins, it was tough for me getting in here. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it.
You bring some sand in your pockets?
I had to.
Yeah, those are the winds of change in the AFC West blowing out there today. And this is interesting. Now, of course, if you live under a rock, Zach in Sports, do you have the updated trade details?
We have.
What was that?
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Well, thanks, Ryan, from the news side. And we have breaking news. Tyreek Hill traded from Kansas City to Miami for a first-round pick, the 29th overall pick, the second-round pick, 50th overall, 2 fourths, and a 6th. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Zach. Chiefs really blew this one, wouldn't you say? Just like that wind out there today. What are they doing? Look, I get it if you're at the end of the road, right? You know, it didn't work out. You tried it. You gave it the old college try, and you can tell that this team isn't going to do it again. But this team, as currently constructed, talking about the Chiefs, was right there every year for the Super Bowl.
Have they been to 4 straight AFC championship games?
I believe that is correct.
That's insane. That shows you how right there they are.
And I know that they know this, which makes the whole thing crazy, is that Tyreek Hill absolutely transforms that offense. He makes them the hardest offense to defend in the NFL. Now, of course, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have a huge role in that as well, but it's the combination of the three, and obviously it was even more when they had Sammy Watkins, like when they won the Super Bowl. But the combination of Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce makes them almost impossible to defend, because obviously you got to commit big time resources to Tyreek Hill over the top, probably, a corner and a safety bracketing him. And then it just opens up so much space underneath for Travis Kelce to go and operate. Now you got a whole bunch of draft picks. They don't run routes yet. And you've got Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster and Mecole Hardman. I mean, you have like a very, very bottom tier wide receiver group, and then of course, a great tight end. But this is a gross wide receiver group as it currently stands. I'm sure they'll be looking to improve that in the draft. We'll see what that does for them. To me, this just knocked them down, not just like a peg. It knocked them down several pegs and made them way easier to defend.
Yeah, and the thing about this whole deal is, yes, Tyreek wanted tons of money. Now he got $30 million a year from the Miami Dolphins. And you know what? He probably, not as a human, but as just a football player, he probably deserves it, because not only is he one of the best receivers in the game, he's the most dangerous player in the game. A lot of people keep saying he's one of the most dangerous. He's who's more dangerous than? There's no one more dangerous than him. What he can do on any single play, we talked about it yesterday. If you have a great quarterback, a great quarterback, you feel like if you have the ball going into the fourth quarter down 21, you have yourself a chance. Tyreek Hill is kind of one of the only non-quarterback players where you feel like that. Like, he could go off, and in 15 seconds on 2 different plays, he can get you an 80-yard touchdown.
I mean, that literally happened in the playoffs. You know, he had that crazy scamper all the way down the sidelines. Mace, you've been quiet. Curious your thoughts.
They just sacrificed a Super Bowl this year for a longer window down the line. I think that's what they did.
So, is your thought on this? They're going to go into the draft and take a speed wide receiver, and that's going to kind of give them a cost control option in there.
Potentially. I mean, they could just take a BPA. They could. They're talking with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, according to reports.
Love that.
They could just say, all right, we'll take BPA for now. Go in with Hardman, Juju, MVS, Travis Kelce at tight end, and it's certainly, if you include the tight end position, it's certainly not bad. It lacks the dynamic component for this year. Look, skill wise, Tyreek Hill is a unicorn. I think that's obvious, and that's what you're losing here. But he is going into year 7. You see the terms of the contract with the Dolphins. It looks like it's going to be about $25 million a year.
I think it's 30.
30. So you're gonna have Patrick Mahomes on bigger cap numbers going forward. This is, I think, kind of anticipating a little bit of a pivot in terms of how they're going to build their roster. That with bigger cap figures coming for Patrick Mahomes, they're going to have to make this adjustment. The fact that they got the first round pick, and it's a late first round pick, but the fact that they got a bushel of picks back here, it's actually, I think, not bad value. But I do think in the short term, this knocks the Chiefs down. But I think this is actually a forward-thinking move to get what they can. And look, if he didn't want to be there at a certain number, then I get it. I think the interesting thing of all these teams that are kind of going quote unquote all in is a bunch of them are going to be disappointed.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. For sure.
Here's the thing, though. I think outside of Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill is the most valuable player on the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's why I think paying him $30 million to stay in Kansas City is worth it. And also with that contract that Miami gave him, I imagine it seems like if the Chiefs would have given him this contract, he probably would have signed it and stayed. He's 28 years old right now. I think it's 3 years fully guaranteed at like $87 million. So you pay that. Fine. You pay that. He's 31 by the time that's up. He's still going to be Tyreek Hill at that point. I don't think he's going to lose a step. Now, if we're talking a 6-year contract where everything was doubled, then maybe you're saying, okay, that's a little crazy. But I still think by the time this contract's done, at least the guarantees, he's still going to be Tyreek Hill. And I just think that the Chiefs, they should have built around Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes until Tyreek Hill is no longer Tyreek Hill. So I don't get it. And also, the everyone keeps saying, especially on Twitter, they got 5 picks back. Okay, 2 of them are 4th-round picks, and one of them is a 6th-round pick. But that means nothing to me. And then the other's a late 1st-round pick. You're not going to be able to get anyone close to Tyreek Hill.
No, I completely agree with that. And to me, I guess they're preparing themselves for a second wave of the Patrick Mahomes window. If I were them, I would have been clinging on to this one as much as I could, because you've been there or close every single year. It's not like you're looking at it saying, we just don't quite have it. No, you definitely had it.
We're second in the division.
Right. Exactly. It's not like you're saying, okay, it's time to punt on this. Maybe you're trying to Belichick it and say, all right, let's move on from this window, because it's not like the Patrick Mahomes window is closing anytime soon.
That's what it feels more like to me. It's kind of with the Brady era, there were always kind of
waves.
There were waves of it, and for example, even like you think of somebody who appeared irreplaceable when they had Wes Welker. It didn't feel like they could find a replacement for him. Turned out they did, and they did again.
Yep.
Realistically, that
they never really replaced Randy Moss.
Yeah.
But that's a.
But they replaced Randy Moss by going heavy at tight end.
Yeah, fair.
And then they had, for that brief moment, they had Gronk and Hernandez,
That was scary.
Yeah, you couldn't defend that. So I think this is probably part of a little bit of a Chiefs pivot. I mean, to talk about, say, BPA, I would not at all be surprised if they use this pick on, for example, like Trey McBride.
Interesting, yeah.
Like
and someone in the comments,
or one of those 2 first-round picks, like on a McBride, like because they still have their own, right? They still have pick. What is it, 29? Yeah, and maybe their pivot is, all right, we're gonna try to have 2 uncoverable tight ends here. You figure that out. Of course, I mean, generally speaking, I have a different idea of what makes the Chiefs scary than what they do, because a couple of years ago, I thought they should have taken Jonathan Taylor, and they took Edwards-Helaire, who hasn't been bad.
By the way, that's the only first-round pick they've made since Patrick Mahomes.
Right, but that was a miss.
Yeah, no, total miss.
Yeah.
Someone in the comments too said, like, what if they go get LaVisca? Yeah, I mean, again, that was like, because I remember talking about LaVisca going to the Chiefs in the draft, and that terrified me. But that's like as part of the Kelsey, Mahomes, Hill, and then you throw in LaVisca Chenault, and it's like, oh my God, how is anyone going to cover this?
Also, LaVisca's stock has certainly gone down.
Oh,
the Jaguars don't want him.
Right, exactly. But that's why they could go get him.
Right.
And I think he would do great things in that offense. But it's like they were scary before, and they're not scary now.
No, they're not. They're not. Now you have to devote every resource to shut Travis Kelce down. If Mecole Hardman beats you, okay, great for him. I'm not betting on it. If Juju beats it, Juju's been one of the most disappointing players in my eyes the past couple of seasons. I thought he was a true number 1 receiver, and he's kind of settled into being just, a solid 2 or something.
He's never been the same since he wasn't alongside Antonio Brown.
Exactly. So he's been very disappointing, and that's what they have. They have some disappointing, underwhelming players, and then the best tight end in the game. Just shut the best tight end in the game down.
But he's also taking a step back. Like last year, the production is always going to be amazing because he gets the ball so much. But if you just watched him last year, he was getting like stripped from behind when he was running. He's getting caught from behind a lot more, dropping passes that he wasn't dropping before. So it's not as if he went, if this was Madden, he went from like a 98 overall to like a 93.
Yeah. And also, I mean, he's getting up to the other side of 30 here. And I think to kind of illuminate something that was said earlier about Tyreek Hill's contract, I mean, he's 28 now, but you get to the last year of that, he's 31. 28 to 31 is usually where we find where receivers tend to go in one of 2 directions. Either they go the Larry Fitzgerald route and they adapt and they end up playing well into their 30s, or they go the A.J. Green or even like Julio Jones route right now. And you see kind of a quick fade at that point. I think so. So I think there was sort of an actuarial table call made by the Chiefs here, saying that, okay, you have a speed guy who, at the same time, he's been remarkably durable. He's I think the only time he missed more than one game when he was pulled out at the end of the season was when he missed 4 back in the start of the 2019 season. So he's been remarkably durable, but at some point, a lot of those guys, the injuries start to accumulate in the late 20s, early 30s, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Chiefs made the decisions that they did.
I'll put this into perspective the best way that I can after this trade today. Not yet. Before today, I've never said I expect the Broncos to win the AFC West this year. As we sit here right now, I expect the Broncos to win the AFC West this year. They should win. They should win the division. That should now be the goal. Before is like, look, you're going up against Titans here. I'll give you a break if you don't win the division the first year. I don't see the Chiefs that way anymore. So now the goal and the expectation for me is for the Broncos to be the best team in the division.
Well, and here's what they're looking at. It's something I said yesterday was I wouldn't be surprised that at the end of the season we're talking about any team being first, any team being fourth. Now that's exactly how I feel. Any team can win this division. Even the Raiders. It's crazy. The 2 moves they made last week gave them a chance to win this division, and the Chiefs could realistically finish 4th in the AFC West. They could be the worst team in this division because when you break down the Chiefs and look at what they are, outside of the tight end position, which I think they have the best or the second best if you want to argue Darren Waller, and outside the quarterback position, which they have the best right now, we'll see how much losing Tyreek Hill impacts that. But right now, I still think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the division, and they have the best head coach in the division. Those are all, especially those last 2, pretty important, head coach and quarterback. Outside of that and outside the tight end position, Probably the worst in the AFC all around. Outside of that, and maybe their offensive line gives a run for the money for not being the worst and maybe even being the best. But outside of that, their defense, bottom. Their wide receiving group, bottom. Their running back, bottom. So you look, and this is now we're really going to find out just how good Patrick Mahomes is. If he carries this team to an AFC West division title, it's something that I've said in the past. I mean, he's going to be unstoppable then, And if he carries this team to beating these other three teams, boy, it's going to be another long decade with having to battle him. But at least the Broncos have a team now. But I wouldn't be surprised if they take that step back and kind of what Mace was alluding to, take a step back this year in order to make a push next year and for the next 5 years.
They came back to the pack today is what it is, and that's where scheduling and opponents matter. We'll get the schedule here in the next several weeks because something as simple as when you play the Arizona Cardinals might have a profound impact on this division based on how close these four teams are going to be together, because obviously you're going to want a Cliff Kingsbury team late rather than early. But what we know is who they're playing. And I think first place is going to be the Chargers, and I think second place is going to be the Broncos. And I believe a big part of this is take their three opponents determined by where they finished in the standings last year and compare them. Okay, the Chargers got the third place roster of opponents. So they got Miami, which looks a little tougher, obviously, today than before. They got Cleveland. You might get them with Deshaun Watson serving a suspension. And they got Atlanta, who looks like they're in tank mode. Yeah. The Broncos got the Jets, last place in the AFC East. They got Carolina. They got Baltimore. So 2 of those 3 games look very winnable. And Kansas City is sitting on, for those 3 games, is sitting on Tampa Bay, Buffalo, and Cincinnati. When you start talking about all these teams clustered together, those are the 3 opponents on their schedules that are different, and that's where your placement last year comes into play. And that's why I could see the 2 teams that missed the playoffs last year in the AFC West being the 2 teams that make it this year.
What has you putting the Chargers above the Broncos?
They were close to Kansas City as previously comprised. They had 4 games the last 2 years, obviously. We'll toss out the game where the Chiefs were resting their starters at the end of 2020. They beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. The 2 games in L.A. went to overtime. So they already had parity with the Chiefs, basically, in terms of regulation play. You can argue they lost last December because of a coin flip, basically. And they're a better team now than the Chiefs are. And the other thing is, Chargers were 1-4 last year in games decided by 3 points or fewer or in overtime. Just sometimes you get a little bit better luck the following year. I do think the Chargers take the division, and the Broncos are a very strong number 2.
They're also 2-2 against the Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater Broncos over the last 2 years. All right, more.
Do you think they would have been 2-2 if they'd had Mack and Jackson, though?
Do you think they would have been 2-2 if the Broncos had Russell Wilson?
Let's get into this on the other side of the break. First, I got to tell you about our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, where they have an awesome boost going up right now. You can get all 4 teams in the AFC West to make the playoffs at plus 2,000. That, for being now kind of an AFC West fan, like I'm really buying into, I love the way this division's shaping up, and I love that, the reason I love it is because the Broncos are right in it and can actually be part of, are they second, are they first, are they third? They can be part of that discussion without having to convince you that Joe Flacco's going to take them there. I love this, and I love that boost over at DraftKings Sportsbook, and something else I love is for the tournament this weekend, they're offering you a chance to get $200 in free bets if you just place a $5 bet on any team still left in college basketball and they win their game, you get $200 in free bets. So check out everything they've got going on. They've got awesome things going on for basketball. They've got awesome things going on for football. And if you download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, you get it all right in your hand. And use the promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. That's code DNVR over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Also, a reminder, come hang out at the DNVR Bar. Always good times down here. Kale, I assume you were here last night. How are the vibes as Jokic put up 30, 14, and 7?
It was a great vibes for a late game.
Yeah. Great vibes for a late game. I was at the game. That was a fun time, but it's like being at the game when you come to the DNVR bar. No joke. People are pounding on tables, chanting MVP, or I guess we'll be using those on Russ come the fall. But it's just a great time, and we have great food and great drinks. So come down, get yourself a Breck brew, a chicken sandwich. What was someone telling me? They were saying you don't talk enough about the pretzel dessert bites.
Oh,
they're fire. They are fire. It's like I call it the Midwest sopapilla because it's a cinnamon sugar pretzel and honey.
So good.
So
good.
It's delicious. So come down, get yourself some of that. And to whoever said that to me, there you go. I promoted it. They were like, these are amazing. Why do you never talk about them on the pod?
Do they have cinnamon on them?
They do. Cinnamon, sugar,
That's
and
the
honey.
key. That's the key is the cinnamon.
Oh, it's so good. And the honey has like a little spice to it.
Yeah.
Oh, hot honey's the best. Yep. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
As I believe Jerry Seinfeld once said, if you ask the question, why does this taste good, invariably the answer is cinnamon.
I put Cinnamon Life and Cinnamon Toast Crunch in my top 3 cereals.
I had
yesterday.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch for breakfast this morning.
I'm jealous.
There you go. I always have Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I have it so often I buy the big, the big family size box.
Yeah.
Yes.
I respect that.
Yes. I also want to tell you about Breckenridge Brewery. Of course, you come on down to the DNVR bar. You can get a big beer for the price of a small beer. If you're a DNVR member, and that means you can get some of those delicious Breckenridge brews. But it's not just about getting Breckenridge brews here at the DNVR bar. It's pretty much wherever you go in the United States, and you can find out where to get some of those delicious Breckenridge brews by checking out the Breck Beer Locator on their website. You're probably not too far away from someplace. I've found Breckenridge brews available pretty much everywhere I've traveled over the years, and you're probably going to find that as well, unless you're somewhere way out, and I'm sorry about that. But if you're in any decent-sized city, even if you're in a beer capital like Wisconsin where they have their own great brews, you're going to be able to find some of those Breckenridge brews there as well. So you can have a taste of Colorado and the taste that we love here at DNVR pretty much wherever you go in the United States. So check out the Breck Beer Locator. It's on their website, and find out where you can get some of those delicious Breck brews, and you'll find that they've got beers to every taste, every palate. Check all that out.
All right, so we talked a little bit about this there at the end. We got ahead of ourselves a little bit, but let's do it. Let's rank the division as it stands right now. But I think, at least for me, if you're ranking the division based on just the roster on paper and then what I expect to happen in the season, I would personally have 2 different rankings.
Oh, okay. And I can only imagine why. So who's your one?
My one, regardless, is the Denver Broncos.
What do you
Roster.
mean regardless.
Roster and standings.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant your one was different.
See, I thought you would say your one for roster would be the Chargers.
That's what I thought he
But
was
your
gonna
one in
say,
the
too.
standings would be the Broncos because you figure
the
that they would Charger it up.
I probably should. I probably should say that because if I try to take away everything I know about the Chargers in my 30 years on this earth, then yes, they have the best roster. I think that's fair to say. So I'll just wipe that away for a second. Give me the Men in Black brain eraser, then show me the rosters.
The neuralizer?
Yes, the neuralizer. Then just put the rosters right in front of me and say which ones are better. And then I'd probably be like, what are you talking about? But the roster, straight roster, I'll give it to the Chargers.
Yeah, and then that's what I thought you were going to say, but then you're going to bring the Charger fact into it.
And I will, but I'll just go through my rankings of the rosters, top to bottom right now. Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs.
So does this mean that, and mine's the exact same, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs, does this mean that we're not taking into position importance in this?
Kinda.
Okay,
I mean,
then if it's only kinda, then absolutely. Yeah, that's it. The Chiefs, like we said, have the worst roster outside of, the most important position in sports.
and they don't have the leg up at the quarterback position that they used to, over any given team.
Right.
Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is arguably the number 1 quarterback in the NFL, if not the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. So they're going to have an edge, but the edge there has been really cut down by every team in the division this year. I guess Herbert, you just expect him to make a jump to get a little bit better. Obviously, the Broncos go from Teddy Bridgewater to Russell Wilson. It's a massive jump. And then Derek Carr, I think goes from Derek Carr, which was fine, to Derek Carr with Devontae Adams, which has to allow him, we expect, to make a little jump as well. So even that gap has been closed by every team.
The AFC West, by the season's end, is going to have 4 of the top 8 quarterbacks in the NFL. Derek Carr, we talked about him coming into this year before the Devontae Adams trade as being a top 12 quarterback, and we meant that as a compliment to him. With Devontae Adams, with Josh McDaniels calling the plays, he's going to be a top 8 quarterback. Russell Wilson's going to be a top 8 quarterback. Of course, Patrick Mahomes is going to be there, and Justin Herbert, in my mind, is already there, and I do think he's going to take another step up. So all of those guys are going to be the top 8. The AFC West is going to have half of the best quarterbacks among 32 teams.
Yeah, I mean, last year you had the NFC West with Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, and what team am I blanking on here?
Jimmy G.
And Jimmy G. Yeah. So even that was a really strong quarterback division. And the AFC West is like a whole level above that.
Because there's no Jimmy G, where you're like, wow, that kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth, even though Jimmy G's good.
There was no Patrick Mahomes in the NFC West.
Right, there was no, GOAT in the NFL there. And so absolutely, this division is stacked at quarterback, and it is a good point how Patrick Mahomes still may be the best, but the other guys aren't far behind. And then you look at the Raiders, and they've had a great offseason, unfortunately, and if you think that
Except for their head coach.
I was going to say, if you think Josh McDaniels isn't going to blow things up from a non-football side, then you probably respect that hire. If you think he's going to blow things up like he did, well then, yeah, that's a bad hire.
That's the wild card, I think, in the entire division is Josh McDaniels.
So we haven't talked a lot about like the Sua Craven's comments from Vic about Vic Fangio. I don't think that Josh McDaniels is going to pull what he did in Denver, like running the franchise quarterback out of town like an idiot. But I think that he very much lacks those people skills and the personability that really connects with this era of players. And I think that's gonna wear on them over time. Whether he learned or not, he's not a guy that people get along with. He's not a cool dude. He's not a likable person. So to me, over time, that's going to wear them thin. I think that's my biggest problem with the hire. It's not, he came in, he was given way too much power when he was hired at way too young of an age, and he screwed it up royally in Denver. I don't think that's going to happen. Obviously, they've already made some great roster moves since he's been there. I think what's going to happen is he's just an asshole. And people aren't gonna like him over time.
Well, and we'll see if he can change that about himself, and he may not be able to. But if he is, it's scary because I mean, Mace, you were in the building when he was there, right?
No, I mean I covered the team, and I wasn't in the building. I mean, look,
really quick. From people that were in the building, and obviously people that covered him as well, they said he's the smartest football mind. Numerous people said he's the smartest football mind they've ever been around. That's why I'm saying if you can take that outside of football stuff away. It's a good hire.
He's an absolutely brilliant tactician. And I mean, the fact that you look at the fact that Kyle Orton was actually putting up really good numbers while he was here with McDaniels. I mean, they couldn't stop anybody on the defensive side, especially in the 2010 season. But
imagine what Jay Cutler could have done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, what did he learn? And, the old cliche, can a tiger change its stripes?
They can't.
The thing is, he came into Denver and he tried to be Bill Belichick, and you can't be Bill unless the results are there over the long term. If you're getting the results, guys will put up with a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Right. But he has to realize
look at what Urban Meyer got away with as a winning college football coach. We didn't even know how terrible of a dude he was. We knew he kind of sucked. But all the stuff that's come out from the NFL, because they sucked, and people weren't willing to deal with his BS.
Did you see the latest thing about him? What came out over the weekend? That he didn't know who Aaron Donald was when watching film?
Jeez. Anyways, go ahead, Mace.
So
incredible.
Yeah, it's Urban Meyer. I mean, it's the worst NFL head coach ever. So one thing that a lot of people do say that he was humbled by Denver, and then even he had a year before he went back to New England where he was with the St. Louis Rams, and the Rams were terrible that year, and the entire staff got fired. I think they were 2-14, and you wonder, and he was the offensive coordinator. You wonder, I mean, if those experiences really did kind of bring a little bit of humility to him, and he applies that to what he is as a coach, then he should do fine. It's not a question of whether he's smart enough. It's not a question of what kind of game plans he's going to put together. It's all about people management there.
Yep.
And that's why, like I said, they're the biggest wild card in the division, because if McDaniels has figured that out, they could win it.
Yeah.
And they could win it by a couple of games if he can marry the people skills with the football mind that he has.
I believe in an old saying: if someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time.
Right.
And the thing about the Raiders, though, outside of McDaniels, is they've upgraded a lot with their edge rusher. Of course, getting Devontae Adams, Derek Carr, I think is going to take a step up, but their offensive line still has question marks. Their defensive line, or I should say their defense as a whole, still has a lot of question marks. So that's where I'm not in love with the Raiders' entire roster. I love some of the pieces they have. The Broncos, I really like what the Broncos have. Obviously, they still have a massive hole at right tackle. We haven't talked about him yet because this news of Tyreek came out, but the Broncos got a slot corner yesterday in Kwan Williams, who is a really solid slot player. In fact, really good slot player. So that's a good move there. Still some holes there. And you also have to take in the fact this is Russ's first year with the team now. We've seen what quarterbacks can do in their first year. Back-to-back years, a quarterback with his first team has won the Super Bowl. And then the Chargers, they had a good roster coming into this offseason, and they added some really good pieces as well.
All right. So, Mace, do you agree, or do you have a rankings?
For Ross.
Yeah, just because I still don't know enough to trust McDaniels just yet, but or doing coaches with the roster, just roster.
Just roster.
Just roster? Okay. Chargers 1, Broncos 2, Raiders 3, Chiefs 4.
Okay.
Yeah, we all have the same.
All the same.
But I think the Broncos and Raiders are really close.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
All right. Now we get to imagine the games being played, not just looking at the roster. And I think this is where we're going to differentiate. I'll start. For me, Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers.
Of course. And Ryan, I think it's a fun little bit to be hating against the Chargers.
It's not a bit. It's backed up by just results.
And saying that they're just going to Charger, whatever that means, fall apart. So some things in the universe.
Terrible injury.
Exactly. Yeah, some things in the universe are going to happen.
They're gonna miss like 3 last-second field goals.
Again, that's fun. It's fun to say until it doesn't happen.
Somebody's cracking a femur.
It's fun to say. It's even more fun to watch.
I love watching it too. But
I don't, because guys get hurt. I hate.
I don't want to see guys get hurt. Unfortunately, that's just what
like
you sign
poor
up for when you go to
Tyrod.
Chargers.
Like Tyrod Taylor getting the needle, puncturing his lung. That could only happen to the Chargers.
Yes.
That doesn't happen to anybody else.
In fact, though, that was kind of a good thing for the Chargers because it got Justin Herbert on the
It
field.
was. But that's not going to happen this year. That's going to stop, and it's going to be this year. And one of the reasons, though, actual facts behind it. What did you say? The Chargers are 1-4 in close games or something?
Close 3 games decided by 3 points or fewer or overtime last year. They were 1-4.
Okay, so that's going to even out. One thing that we loved was Brandon Staley's aggressiveness and really, really grabbing analytics and running with it. There were some things where everyone is saying, what is he doing going for it on 4th and 1 from their own 29 or something? And then turns out the analytics actually backed that up. He lost on pretty much every single one of those that he did last year. That is going to change. Now, maybe it doesn't flip from, let's say he was 0-10 last year. It's not going to go 10-0 this year. But if it evens out to 5-5, then they're going to win a couple more games just because of that, because they do come in very clutch situations. And Justin Herbert, he hasn't arrived yet fully. He's still going to get better. And what he's done in his first 2 years is so scary. And the fact that they're doing the opposite of what the Chiefs are doing right now. They're seeing a window right now, and they are capitalizing on it. The window is, of course, a cost-controlled quarterback, drink, and they are going all after it. So I think the Chargers, I think they're going to win the division.
Here's the only thing that I think could mess that up, and it's something they're going to have to fight every year, is basically having a road environment at home.
Yeah. All right, really quick. Do you smell that, Zach?
No.
It's the smell of pizza. Pizza bet.
Chargers
finish 1 or 2 in the division, you win. Chargers finish 3 or 4 in the division.
We're locked in. Let's go.
All right, let's go. Did we already have a Chargers-based pizza bet?
We did. And
was that just last year?
We pushed our pizza bets last year. Yes, it was get to 11 wins.
I think it was
10?
it was like if they have 11 or more, you win. If they have 9 or less, I win. And 11 was a push.
And they were at 9 and 8, so I lost that.
Okay,
one,
all right.
Yeah,
I think, and then
I
the
won
Mac Jones something.
Yep. What was the other one? There was one that I won too.
It's something with the Patriots.
I need to keep a chart of this.
Yes, we do.
All right. Do you want to give your full?
Oh, did the Patriots make the playoffs last year?
Yes.
Yes, they did. They
Yes.
lost.
That's what it was.
It's easy
That's
to
what it
forget
was.
because they got
right,
stomped by the Bills.
Right.
Like
It
Does
was
it even
that.
Patriots
count if
making
they
the
didn't
playoffs.
score?
The disappointment was that Buffalo didn't get 50 on them.
Right. What was it? 47-0?
No, it
No.
was like 16 or
Don't be
something like
disrespectful
that.
to Mac like that.
I was at a bachelor party, so it's a little fuzzy.
I briefly contemplated still putting the Patriots in the playoffs despite everything going on. I mean, it's weird, like, because you look like at the AFC now, and it's fair to say the Dolphins, it's all going to come down to the quarterback, but now all of a sudden it's a little bit harder for Buffalo and it's a lot harder for the Patriots because the Dolphins have that kind of explosiveness, and the Patriots just lost J.C. Jackson on the back end, and they lost Bill Bell or they lost Josh McDaniels as offensive tacticians. So, the Pats are kind of that's why when I did the 7 playoff teams in the AFC, I had the Pats on the outside looking in.
Would love for
right
the
now.
Broncos to draw the Patriots in the playoffs.
Oh, it'd be fantastic. Yep.
All right, so I have Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers. You have Chargers.
Broncos.
We both
Okay.
have that.
And then Chiefs, Raiders.
Okay.
However, I think all 4 teams have a winning record, and I think that bet on DraftKings Sportsbook at plus 2,000 for every team in the AFC West to make the playoffs is super close. I don't know if it's actually going to happen.
Need a
but
tiebreaker or something?
I'm seeing this division, Broncos and Chargers. No, because we did this. We went through the schedule, and I had the Broncos 11-6. The Chargers 12-5. The Broncos and Chiefs 11-6. Broncos get the tiebreaker, and Raiders 10-7. I mean, that's how good this is.
I'm going to go Broncos, Chargers, both 11-6. Chargers win the tiebreaker. Raiders 10-7, Chiefs 9-8.
Man, I can't imagine a Patrick Mahomes team losing 8 games.
Yeah,
I mean, it can happen. I'm just saying, it's almost unfathomable to me.
And what it boiled down to was, yes, the Raiders have a better roster than the Chiefs. Even though I like Derek Carr and I really respect him and love what they're doing for him this offseason, come on. I can't put Patrick Mahomes down.
Well, that's why I have them too, despite having the worst roster in the division. I just think he's going to pull out magic.
But the thing is, like, it's easy to kind of figure out 8 losses because let's say they split the division, they go 3-3, and then say they lose at Tampa Bay, at Cincinnati. Buffalo comes in and beats them in Kansas City, just like they did in the regular season last year,
and should have done in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then maybe one of Tennessee or Indianapolis picks them off, and then that's 7, and then maybe another upset somewhere along the line. I mean, you look at the Chiefs' schedule, and it is just like you have the AFC West, you have the NFC West teams. And that really, aside from Seattle, they're all competitive in quality. It's not hard to look at the Chiefs' schedule and say, split with the AFC West, lose 1 to the AFC South, so that's 4, lose to the Bengals, lose to the Bills, lose to the Bucks, and lose an NFC West game. There's 8 losses.
Yeah.
And that's Rams, and they would have lost to a bunch of really good teams.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I just think what the AFC West is going to happen is they're going to cannibalize themselves in the division games. I think, let's just say everyone splits it 3-3, and then I don't think the AFC West is going to lose much outside the division at all. And maybe my bold take for today is the Bengals don't make the playoffs. Cincinnati doesn't make the playoffs.
Wow. I mean,
They're going to get beat up by, not really Pittsburgh, a little bit by Cleveland, and I'm going to say Baltimore gets that playoff spot from there, and then you're not going to make it from that division if you're not winning the division.
it's pretty crazy. I
It
mean,
is, yeah.
The whole AFC should just pull away and just do their own league.
But are the Bengals a better team today than they were in the Super Bowl?
Yep.
because they rebuilt that offensive line, and I don't think they're done.
I think they're coming back. I think they're regressing this year.
I think they're going to add another. They're going to use their round 1 pick on offensive lineman too. And so there might be a little bit of kind of chemistry building. That's going to be the goal of their off season. It's going to be the goal of their training camp. But that line, it was almost the reason why they lost the Titans in the divisional round. It was the reason why they lost the Super Bowl, and they've fixed it.
Off the top of my head, the Chiefs might legitimately be one of like 3 teams in the AFC West that got worse, or in the AFC that got worse this offseason.
Yeah.
Like, if you just look around, you're like, okay, the Browns got better.
Yep.
The Broncos got better. The Chargers got better. The Raiders got better. The Bengals got better. The Ravens obviously are going to have a healthy Lamar Jackson. They got better. Like,
you could make a case that going from Ben Roethlisberger to Mitchell Trubisky, the Steelers got better.
Yeah.
I mean, the only, who clearly got worse?
The Texans?
The Chiefs? I think the Texans probably stood pat.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm
They
just
were bad.
counting them losing Deshaun
But
Watson.
the Jaguars got better. I mean, the Colts got better. I think the Titans got a half step worse.
Yep.
Okay.
They didn't do anything.
And then, Robert Woods is a nice pickup, but Julio Jones was not what they expected. They did cut Roger Saffold on the offensive line as well. But they'll get Derrick Henry back. So I think maybe on balance, they're a little worse, but the Chiefs clearly got worse. The Patriots, with losing J.C. Jackson and losing Josh McDaniels calling the plays, they clearly got worse too.
Does this open some space up for the Chiefs to bring back Honey Badger or stuff like that?
He's done. He's not going back to the Chiefs. In fact, did you see what he tweeted this morning? Let me find
Pulling
it.
a Chris Harris Jr. dunking on his old team.
Yep, exactly. Okay, I got it. He said, "The top of one mountain is the bottom of the next. ... Let's put that work on."
Oh, he wants to come hike in Colorado.
maybe.
Let's go. 14ers all day, Tyron.
Yep.
All right, before we move on, I want to give a shout out to our friends Light Shade Dispensary, where you can get 25% off each purchase. Not your first purchase. Each purchase at Light Shade Dispensary, you can get 25% off. And over there, they have Ripple products, which is a fast-acting, dissolvable, clinically proven to hit 2 times faster than the leading gummy, so it quite literally hits different. Starts absorbing within 10 minutes, so you can depend on a consistent experience every time. Check out Ripple. Check out Light Shade Dispensary. Find one near you. Shop online and use the code DNVR to get 25% off every single time you go over there.
If you want to feel better day in and day out, check out our friends over at Athletic Greens, because they're providing a product that in one delicious scoop, all you do is put it in 8 ounces of water right when you wake up. Here's what it gives you: 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day. This blend of ingredients helps your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, all the things. It's pretty much a magical scoop. All it is, and it costs less than a cup of coffee every single day. It has over 7,000 5-star reviews, and we're all using it, and it's keto-friendly. It's vegan, it's dairy-free, gluten-free. Anyone can have this, and it makes you feel so much better. Has helped make me feel so much better.
Got to get the AG glow. Mm-hmm. When you have it, people will notice. I mean, why are you glowing so much? Why does your skin look so vibrant? It's that AG glow.
It's that AG glow, and if you want to get that glow on, they're giving you a special deal. If you go to athleticgreens.com/Broncos, you will get 5 free travel packs with your first purchase and a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D. That's athleticgreens.com/Broncos.
All right. Couple things that we need to touch on that we haven't, because the Chiefs decided to be dum-dums today. Kwan Williams, your thoughts, just briefly.
Good signing. $3.5 million to bring a guy in the slot. He's experienced. He's a veteran guy. He's going to fill that hole for a really reasonable price. And he's not just a good slot corner in terms of being a corner. He's a really good tackler, too, and kind of a playmaker. That's something the Broncos needed.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, I believe he's the only guy with, 15 passes defensed, 5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles over the last 5 seasons.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Him and Logan Ryan are the only 2 players with that. It shows you how they use him from time to time in the pass rush, and he's very effective. Even last year had about one of every 5 pass rushes resulted in a pressure on the quarterback, according to Pro Football Focus. So he's got that element to him as well. He's well-versed in zone concepts. pretty solid fit, I think.
Yeah, I love that he can kind of be used as a weapon. They clearly like to bring him in from the slot after the quarterback. That's kind of a fun addition that maybe you wouldn't have got with a Bryce Callahan.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then the other thing I guess I would ask about this is, does it cross Bryce Callahan off the list for the Broncos? And what about, where do they stand with Kareem Jackson, that sort of thing?
Yeah, pretty much it crosses another slot corner like that, but not entirely. If Bryce finds out the market is nothing and the Broncos bring him back at 2 or 3, it makes a lot of sense to bring Bryce back because you're going to be playing a lot of dime then, and that makes a lot of sense. You have depth, you got really good corner, but it's certainly not. So I shouldn't say it takes him off the board, but it certainly knocks his priority level down, and the Broncos will only get him if he kind of falls in their lap.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we might see some of these moves, these last moves on the roster, made even as you get toward the summer and training camp. I think you'll see, obviously, the Broncos, I think they're at, about $17 million of space as of this morning, and not every contract was accounted for, but they want to have enough room for the draft picks plus some buffer to bring in somebody in camp or into the regular season. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos, patch a couple of holes with veterans that people know even into training camp, and maybe, an Evan Mathis type of signing that we saw back in 2015, for example. So,
all right.
And in terms of Kareem Jackson, yeah, that one's still very much on the table. And I think that's what happens. I don't really know what we're waiting for. I think last year Kareem was on the market for 10 full days. We're getting right about 10 full days right now, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen.
I'm holding out hope for Honey Badger until it doesn't happen. All right, last thing that I want to touch on before we hit these comments. How about that Russ vid that dropped yesterday?
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. He's already got the guys together. He hasn't even been on the team for 1 full week, and he's already got the guys out.
At his house that has a football field in the back?
With his logo on the field.
Yes.
I mean, that's a beautiful spot, by the way. He's out in San Diego, the palm trees and all that. I'll admit, I'm not excited about the video because it's against air. There's no defenders. The exciting thing is seeing so many guys together 1 week after he officially became a Bronco. That's the thing.
I don't know why it's like this, but there's just something about when you have that guy at quarterback, you get these things happen. When you don't, for whatever reason, they just don't happen. I don't know if it's like everyone wants to get in Russell's on his good side. So, it's like when he says, hey, come to San Diego, everyone's like, okay, yeah, we're there. Because, Drew Lock talked about doing this sort of stuff, but we never actually saw it happen. We saw it happen in Denver a couple times. But there's something about, you have a great quarterback, they can tell those guys to go anywhere.
I have a theory on this, though, real quick. A lot of those the quarterbacks who are the guy, like Russ, like Peyton Manning was, they have resources at their disposal that a young quarterback does not have. I mean, like Peyton Manning, when he was getting the Duke sessions going, a couple of times he would say, hey, if you come out here, I'll make sure that you get a ticket to Duke, Carolina at Cameron.
I would say I'll make sure you get a ticket to catching a pass in a game.
Yeah, well, there's always a little sweetener that gets thrown. And certainly, Russ has the resources to say, hey, I'll get your tickets, your first-class flight, and get you out here to San Diego.
Also, on top of that, look at the resources that Peyton Manning had. He was able to use Duke's facility.
Yeah.
Well, look at the resource that Russell Wilson has. It appears his backyard is a football field right there. Like you said, Drew was doing it at high school fields, and I don't blame Drew. He didn't have those facilities, but it's probably harder to convince guys to come back to Denver a couple of weeks before OTAs to just go out to a high school field. And then
Russ
also
is probably taking them all out to nice dinners.
Exactly, and also probably putting them up either in a hotel or his room or his house is a hotel where they get to stay.
Yeah.
So the resources all over are just so different. And then certainly it does go to, I don't want to piss Russ off.
Yeah.
I want to get on his good side right away. And then you see Russ tweeting about Cortland Sutton. You got to think Cortland Sutton's feeling great about Russ tweeting this.
The nice dinners are a thing because that was another part of the Manning sessions as well. They'd go over to this probably the best steakhouse in the area. This place called the Angus Barn. They'd go over there a couple of times.
Yep.
There were some shenanigans going on with the bill from time to time.
Real quick, a lot of people asking, where was Jerry Jeudy? Jerry Jeudy has a very legitimate reason for not being there, from what I've heard.
Yep. He has a personal matter that he's taking care of.
Yeah.
That aside, Jerry, please just log off. just stop tweeting. Just delete Twitter.
Yeah.
He never does anything positive for himself on that website. Look, I get him saying like, you guys, it's none of your business where I am. And he's right. But he doesn't need to like, you don't need to put down the fans just to like to show people that, it doesn't, that it's none of their business. It is none of their business. So just don't say anything.
Right. Don't make it their business at all. And I agree. And I'm not mad at all that Jerry's not there. He is taking care of his own things. On kind of a side note, though, I thought it was really cool. Lloyd Cushenberry was there. That was the only offensive lineman I saw. I saw both of the backup quarterbacks there. Obviously, pretty much every wide receiver was there. You saw Albert O there. And then Lloyd Cushenberry. I think that's a very smart move for a guy that is going to be in a competition this offseason to get a leg up and to start building that chemistry with
You need an
Russ.
all-time center.
Yeah, I mean, you also just need to get comfortable with someone sticking their hands between your legs.
Really true. Feeling you up in that San Diego heat.
Exactly. But yeah, I wish Jerry would just not. Somehow he makes it himself look bad in a situation where he doesn't deserve to look bad.
He was fine until he used the word irrelevant to describe.
That's what I mean.
everybody.
Like, you don't need to
can't
tell
do
the
that.
fans that they're irrelevant. I don't know. I'm probably the biggest Jerry Jeudy believer around, and even I'm like starting to get just peeved by like the constant somehow digging himself into holes over and over again.
Yeah.
So and it also just is such a shame that he can't be there.
Yeah.
Because you would just feel like you're falling behind. It's like if you were on The Bachelor and you weren't there for the first week.
Right.
And everyone else has a relationship and you don't
better
yet.
blow him away.
Yeah, you better come in hot.
If anyone can do it, it's probably Jerry with his talent.
True. Maybe just like post a couple workout vids and tag Russ.
There you go.
So he knows, so he doesn't forget about you. All right, let's jump in. Let's hit these super chats quick before we get into the comments from the listener. First one here from J-Day. Is this Russell's best receiving core he's had?
Man, it's certainly up there, but you can't forget about Tyler Lockett and DK. And those are really two good players. And honestly, if you look at them, you see a lot of similarities with what the Broncos have. Now, DK may be even more dangerous than Courtland Sutton. I think he's kind of proved that so far in his career. And then what does Jerry turn out to be? Does Jerry turn out to be the guy we thought he was? Does he live up to that first-round pick? That's still out there right now. I think that's fair to say that we're not sure about that. If he does, then yeah, I think this Broncos group. But right now, man, those are two established guys that the Broncos have to get past.
We've never seen any of these guys with a good quarterback, so it's just hard to tell. But what I'll say is, if you were to say go top 3 wide receivers and top tight end, best he's had, probably.
Right. Yep.
If I'm projecting a little bit what these guys will look like with a good quarterback, probably the best full group he's had.
And that's also projecting about what Alberto can do as a true number one.
Totally. And I'm very high on that.
Me too. I am as well.
All right, next one here from Sidhu. With Browning moving to outside linebacker, do we sign Wagner?
And I think this is a bigger conversation that we have, but I'll just focus on that last part. Do we sign Bobby Wagner? I don't think so. Yeah. No, I don't think that's why they want to try Browning it outside.
If they were moving Browning outside because they're bringing in Bobby Wagner and they don't have a spot for him inside, I'll change my opinion on how I feel about them moving him outside.
Yep. And I'd say tune in tomorrow.
You're just like spend all the money.
Yeah.
Go in. Do what the Chargers are doing. Exactly.
Last one here in the super chat category from Bryce. From North Dakota, and I plan on coming to at least 2 to 3 games this upcoming season. Definitely going to check out the DNVR Bar as a pregame spot.
Let's go, Bryce.
Pregames here, post games here,
Can't wait.
Away games here. It's going to pop
all the
off.
games here.
Yeah, the tailgate, the physical tailgate is going to be a party of, like, we're going to need to get bigger speakers.
We may need to just get the whole parking lot, all of Mile High.
Yeah. But also the tailgate show. What a different vibe that's going to be.
Yep. Everything's going to be different.
Everything has changed.
Yep.
Everything has changed.
So you're day drinking for a different reason now.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's jump. Real quick, I was talking to someone the other night here at the bar, and his wife was there. She's not the biggest Broncos fan, or not just the biggest football fan. And she's like, I could legitimately tell after a loss if he came straight home or went to DNVR before coming home based on his mood. If he came from DNVR and they lost, his mood wasn't that bad. Came straight home, he was super bummed. So
That's great. That is awesome.
love to hear that.
Should we jump into the comment
Let's do
section?
it.
First one coming in from Mile High Till I Die. My boys, we know how much George Payton covers draft picks, and with our first and our second gone this year, I'm sure he's not looking to give up any more draft capital, but I pose this scenario to you. Let's say we get into the last few picks of the first round of the draft, and there's still a player available that is in the top 10 to top 15 on the Broncos draft board. Do you think George Payton would give even more precious draft picks to trade back into the first round and get his guy? It might be hard to say no, especially if it's a right tackle and we could shore up that offensive line for years to come. What say you?
Yeah.
No, because first of all, you'd have to trade probably your 2024 first round pick to do it as part of a deal. And second of all, the picks to other teams have less value the further out they are. So
what about
I don't like that value at all on the kind of deal you'd make.
What about your remaining second, which is at the end of the second round, and a third? Could that get you into the end of the first?
No, it couldn't. Probably isn't going to.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to maybe get a team that really wanted to move back, didn't like the board at all, but it's not likely. But I'm saying just from a Peyton perspective, I don't think he's so married to draft picks that he's holding on to them just to hold on to them. The reason he likes having so many draft picks is because it allows you to be aggressive in things.
Well, the other thing also, if you're making your long-term plans here. Right now, you've got a quarterback on a $24 million cap figure, which isn't prohibitive. It's not cheap, but it's certainly for Russell Wilson's good value. Well, a couple of years from now, you're looking at that maybe being a $50 to $55 million a year number by 2024. You're going to need those. You are going to need those draft picks when Russ has that kind of number. So it's just if you're making kind of your long-term plan, when you need those picks, they're going to be more valuable in 2024. So I think you just have to hang tight and not make a move like that.
George Payton's doing something different this year. He's being aggressive, which he didn't do last year. So if a guy that he loves is there, I think he makes a move.
At least tries.
Right. Tipsy Uncle says, I love it, Zach. I thought I was the only one who had the internal question if it was weird if I closed my eyes for haircuts. And I'm an eye closer as well. I think we're all eye closers.
Well, it's a good hair. If you're getting a haircut from the right person, it is a relaxing experience.
Yeah. And, I couldn't ask my fiance about this because I don't think girls need to close their eyes like guys do because the hair, when they cut it, it's already past their eyes. So I never thought to ask her. Now, maybe girls still close their eyes for haircuts, but I just didn't think it was the same apples to apples.
Yeah, any women out there in the comments, let us know if you're an eye closer at the salon.
Fangio Schmangio is probably an eye closer at the salon. Or maybe an eye open guy. He says, yo, whatever happened to Kerry Vincent Jr., the slot corner from LSU we drafted last year? Haven't heard anything since training camp. Signing Williams from San Fran makes him expendable.
He was traded to the Eagles?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the return was.
So he's definitely expendable. I think he was a 6th or 7th round pick.
He got a 6th. It was a 6th because he was a 7th round pick, and they converted him into a 6th round pick.
George Payton's a wizard, man.
Yep. He is. NZ Zach, I believe that's New Zealand Zach, says, my guys, first off, I have to thank you for your ongoing fantastic work. Life is great with DNVR in it. Thank you. Mace mentioned Tom Brady's highest paid year being 13.5% of the cap, which leads me to my question. Over the last 20 years, what is the highest paid quarterback percentage to the cap to win a Super Bowl? Does this change the way you'd approach paying your quarterback one? Why not pay Russ a percentage of the cap? That way, if the cap rises, so would his salary. Thoughts? Kind regards, Zachary. Zachary, I love your thoughts here, but Russ is going to say, okay, you're trying to be creative here, but what you're doing is you're trying to get a discount on me because that 13.5% or whatever that number is, 12%, would be way less than the $50 million, $40 million contract he's going to get.
The most in the last 20 years was Tom Brady with the Buccaneers in 2020, I believe.
To win a Super Bowl, that was 12.6%. Yep. To get to the Super Bowl, it was actually Peyton Manning in 2009 with the Colts, 18.8. Matt Ryan.
Fitting number.
Yeah. Matt Ryan, 15.3 in Super Bowl 51. And then right behind that was Peyton Manning with the Broncos in 2013 when he broke all the records at 14.2.
I'm not willing to make the case that the reason those teams didn't win the Super Bowl that made it there is because they spent too much on their quarterback.
I agree.
And that it's especially now, it's going to happen where a $50 million quarterback wins and then this conversation goes to bed. And right now, that record-breaking number, the 12.5%, would be paying Russell Wilson or a quarterback right around $26 million. Broncos right now, Russ's cap hit $24 million. So maybe this is their true window this year to do it. Or maybe even next year if you wait till next year to sign him and then you keep the cap number low again in 2023. But that's what it would be. And that's why Russ would say, no, I'm not taking that because that's about half the pay.
So let's look at that Manning figure in 2009 when they lost the Saints. Because, look, Super Bowl outcomes can be kind of random, right?
Yep.
I mean,
very.
The Bucks beat the Chiefs. Good for them. They took advantage of the fact that the Chiefs came in with basically a duct tape offensive line by that point and were able to attack the Chiefs where they were weakest. So if you, in 2024, the expectation is a cap of $260 million because by then you're past all the COVID accounting. That would, if you hit the Peyton Manning figure, 18.8%, that would mean your cap figure would be $48.88 million.
Which you should be able to do.
Right. I mean, now we're talking Russ 50 to 55. Yep. We know about the Deshaun Watson deal. That's going to be 50. That's 55. So maybe a 40 to $48 million quarterback, it kind of ends up being the sweet spot.
Yeah. But I mean, again, like, you know, the Falcons didn't blow a 28-3 lead because Matt Ryan got paid too much.
Right.
Unless that's all he thought about the second half of the Super Bowl was, man, if I blow this.
And his contract under 2024 projected accounting, Matt Ryan would have been $40 million.
Yep.
Yeah, so. You just have to pay the right guy. But no, it doesn't impact whether you pay the guy.
Next one's from Guy.
Yep.
Good day, boys. Listening to yesterday's podcast when you talked about Rock and Roll Part 2 brought back some memories on the only time I saw the Broncos play in Kansas City in 2005. We left Melbourne in a 100-degree temperature and flew to Kansas City via L.A., where it was below 10 degrees. Coldest day of my life. Dante Hall returned the opening kick for a touchdown, and things only got worse after that.
That was actually 04, not 05.
Okay, I believe you.
05 was a close game. 04 was a blowout.
During that song, I had thousands of Chiefs fans pointing at me, chanting, "We're going to beat the hell out of you, you.
Oh, no.
In tune with the beat. Then, when the game was finished, this little 12-year-old punk came up to me and said, "Do you know what I like about you?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "Nothing."
Oh, my gosh.
His dad patted him on the head and said, "Way to go, son."
Oh, my
They were the most arrogant, aggressive fans I've ever experienced. Whenever the Chiefs lose a big game like last year's Super Bowl, the AFC Championship game this year, I think about that little 12-year-old boy who's now probably 30 and hope he's crying himself to sleep. Love the rivalry. Hate the team. Go Russ. Go Broncos. Have a great day, boys. Aussie Dan.
Man, I love it.
Wow.
Great story.
I love it.
Also,
that's a great story.
I respect the kid.
And maybe it'll flip. Maybe it'll be 12-year-old kids in Denver.
Wait, you respect the kid for that?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Do you respect the dad?
Yeah.
I honestly, like,
it's not like he told him to go die or anything. He
if
just made a funny joke.
Kid did that, if a kid did that to me, I'd be like, dude, grow up. By the way, that day,
it's like I will eventually.
Right.
By the way, the wind chill that day was -1. That's why, like, that was 04. That's why I think he was referring to 04 because it was 15 degrees, wind chill of -1. I remember looking out the hotel window when I woke up that morning and just, you know how like some days just look cold because you see the steam like rising everywhere. Oh man, and that was an ugly game.
Kansas City cold sucks.
Yeah.
Really sucks.
Kansas City,
Kansas City.
like Kansas and Kansas City, that's where you start getting some humidity with the cold as you go east, and that's where it gets, and that's where it starts getting brutal.
Yeah, I'm going back. I like the chirp from the kid. I think that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Really quick, I've seen it in the comment section a lot. If you're tuning in live, hit us with a peace sign. Let's see as many peace signs as we can get in here. We'd love it. Also, hit us with a thumbs up. If you're watching on Twitter, jump over to YouTube. We really appreciate it. Hit us with a 5-star review on iTunes as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on alerts. We really appreciate all the support.
Yes, if you're happy Tyreek Hill is out of the division,
peace.
Check up the deuces in the comment section.
By the way, did you see the Malone extension? Different sport.
Michael Malone?
Yeah, Woj
Let's go.
Nuggets coach Michael Malone has agreed on a multi-year contract extension.
I love him.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
Melbourne Bronco. Hi, guys. So what are the chances of Hackett and or Dangerous Wilson appearing on Three Ring Circus? Cheers. Let's ride. Not terrible.
No, not terrible at all.
Not terrible.
I love it. I love it. Pig Tosser 66 says, guys, is this real life? This is 2012 all over again, except maybe even better because of how bad we have sucked the last 5 years. Unbelievable. And that comment came in this morning.
Yeah, this is going to be crazy because even the first Manning year, the Broncos are coming off of a playoff appearance.
Yeah.
It's not like they were coming out of the depths of hell like they are right now.
And the magic of Tim Tebow.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was fun. Like, that year was fun.
Yeah.
The last 5 years have not been fun.
No.
And it's about to get really fun really fast.
Yeah. It's already really fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, says just a reminder that the Broncos now have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks on the roster. What a time to be alive.
Shout out Kendall Hinton.
Absolutely. He was there yesterday too.
He was.
Who do you guys think ends up who do you guys think ends up being Russ's favorite target by the end of his first season?
I got to go with the only evidence I have. Actually, I have a little bit of evidence for 2 different guys now, but I'm going with the one that Russell Wilson said first 3 different times in his press conference, which was Tim Patrick. He loves the guy. And then he said it in the press conference, and then I was watching, I think it was the Behind the Broncos video of Russ coming to Denver. By the way, the Broncos have done an incredible job.
And Tim was at the press conference too.
Right, with that production. But then there's like a little side thing where they're talking to Russ again, and he's like, yeah, you just got guys like Tim Patrick here. Then they see each other in the hallway, and Tim's like starstruck. Those 2 guys, I feel like they're going to be besties.
And I'm just going based off depth chart. It's going to be Courtland Sutton.
All right.
Because I think he's the next guy right there. He was always mentioning Courtland next, and I think Jerry gets one more year to truly be that 2, at least at the start of the season. So I think Courtland gets the opportunity.
I think the thing with Tim Patrick, though, is like, I always thought that a great quarterback would love him because when we were in another universe thinking about, if the Broncos traded a receiver to Green Bay, I used to think, Tim Patrick with Aaron Rodgers would put up some huge numbers.
Yep.
And it's his reliability.
When I say favorite target, I don't necessarily mean best stats.
That's what I was taking it
Yeah,
as.
I mean like 3rd and 7, fourth quarter. Where's he looking?
Sure. Yeah. I can buy it. The chemistry is there already. Howler Bro Surf says, praise be, one of the most vile and detestable players in the NFL, maybe leaving Kansas City. Is leaving Kansas City. Hope the door doesn't hit him on the way out, or it does.
Hope it does.
Without him, and the Chiefs will be way easier to game plan against. Kelsey is great, but he was slowing down, and his game isn't a breaker when you don't also have to account for Hill on the other side. Likewise, Mahomes is still great, but not having that duo will be an adjustment for him. Let's go. Well said, Howler Bro Surf, and kind of like I pointed to earlier in the pod, we're going to see just how great Patrick Mahomes is. Is he a guy that can carry anyone on his back, or does he need that help?
I do have to say it is kind of unsettling that in the same week Deshaun Watson becomes the highest paid quarterback ever and Tyreek Hill becomes the highest paid wide receiver ever.
Yeah.
It's disappointing.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is. Another thing, I know you want to root for Mike McDaniel, but now Mike McDaniel's team has Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
But they got Tua.
But they have Tua. He's likable.
Their receiving core with Waddle, Tyreek Hill, they're doing
That's
some
like it's straight Madden.
By the way,
It
did you see when Teddy was asked whether he was the backup, and he's like, I'm going to keep those conversations private.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Tua's the star.
Tua has to be the guy.
They're giving Tua this year.
By the way, someone in our Madden league who has Tyreek Hill was trying to actually replicate this like a week ago, getting Waddle and Hill together. And I'll tell you this, the offer that he made for Waddle even was way more than what the Chiefs got.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, because they're playing a Madden game down there in Miami.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next one from Orange is the new sack. Do you think there's any chance Russ comes to Denver if Vic is still the coach? I think Russ laughs at George when he is told about the personality or possibility of a trade here. Also, do you think that's why George fired Vic, to look more appealing to a potential quarterback in the offseason?
I say it's too hard to tell. I think it's a possibility that the whole thing goes down and Russ shows up in Denver and, there was the whole idea of he could have met the coaches, met the GM, and then said no. Mm-hmm. maybe he meets Vic Fangio and is like, this guy sucks, I'm out.
Who
But I
would've been
don't think it's possible.
Who would have
really
been the
know.
OC in a Vic Fangio return? Because
Was there rumors of anyone? I'm trying to remember.
I mean, all it was Pat Shurmur's gone. The rumor was Matt Nagy reunion because of course
right.
he worked under Matt Nagy in
I don't think that would have done
Chicago.
much for Russ.
I don't think so either. And I think the other thing is also, I really think that George Payton's decision was not driven by what he might be able to do at the quarterback position. I think it was driven by just what he had seen over the year in terms of Vic Fangio kind of having a key place in running the organization. And a head coach, has to be somebody who connects with people throughout the organization, and that wasn't Vic Fangio.
Someone in the comments talking about KJ Hamler. It's so hard for me to talk about KJ Hamler because if he's healthy, he's going to be amazing. We're talking about, 3 deep at wide receiver plus the tight end, best that Russ has ever had. We're not even considering KJ. Mm-hmm. I'm at that point with him where it's like I can't consider him until he's actually out there. But just to not forget about him, if he's healthy and and he's out there, he's going to add a whole other dynamic to this offense.
Yeah, and what did we say last year right when he got injured? We said we need to not count on KJ Hamler anymore. Yeah. And if he shows up, and not shows up in that sort of way, but if he's able to play and is healthy, then great. What a great boost, but you don't want to count on him anymore because his body has proven to us that he shouldn't be counted on.
And that's really unfortunate. It has nothing to do with him. It's just a shitty thing.
But it's how you have to now think about it. It's
Totally.
how George Payton should be approaching it.
Yeah,
and even when he plays, his drop rate is still way too high.
Yeah.
43 catchable passes, 8 drops.
It's such a low sample size, though. You know what I mean?
But that's what he was at Penn State.
Yeah.
So he hasn't shown that he's any different in the pros than he was in college, and so it's just possible that if you're gonna have him be viable for the long term, you're gonna have to live with a high drop rate in all likelihood.
Anytime I close my eyes, I just see highlights of Russ throwing to Broncos receivers, and like once out of every 12. It's KJ Hamler running a slot fade and Russell Wilson just perfectly dropping it in the bucket in the end zone.
And we have Samuel Bisu saying, is KJ the fastest wide receiver in the division now? If he's healthy, yeah.
If he's healthy.
Yeah.
With a full hamstring.
And Windy City Bronco rounds us off here, says, watching other teams scramble for wide receivers is making me appreciate Peyton that much more. We got 2 good receivers for the price of 1 elite receiver. Raiders gave up a first and a second round pick and will pay him $28 million a year. Miami's giving up a first, second, fourth, and 2 more 3-day picks, actually 3 more day picks for Hill, and will pay him $25 million a year. The Adams trade makes a bit more sense to me because of how he pairs with the rest of the Raiders receivers. Miami's more seems particularly insane given who they have playing quarterback right now. I actually don't think it's insane. Tua is a great deep ball quarterback. That may be what he needs. Now he has his guy in Waddle. Now he's got another fantastic deep threat there. I think it makes sense. And I like that Miami's given Tua all the opportunities to succeed this final year.
They're going to be fun to watch for sure.
They are.
Just to see what Mike McDaniel does with that offense with those weapons.
Yep, and you know who really should have made a push for Tyreek Hill is the Packers. They should have, because they were willing to pay Devontae Adams that money. Devontae just said, I'm not playing for you. So all it would have been, essentially take the picks that they got for Devontae Adams. They would have swapped Devontae Adams for Tyreek Hill with Aaron Rodgers right now. In this window, that's what they should have done.
That would have been crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But it came down to the Dolphins and the Jets as the only 2 teams who were interested in that.
How is there not an NFC team?
Also, Green Bay, as of today, has $1.3 million of cap space.
But they were going to be able to figure it out with Devontae, so they would have been able to figure it out.
They had some work to. They would have had some work to do, and the timeline may have been working against them as well.
Well, you figure that out. You figure that out when you're in your window, especially with the quarterback that only has a closing window.
Right. That's what I don't understand about the Packers is they gave Aaron Rodgers more money and got worse.
Yep.
What are we doing here?
Very bizarre.
Because a lot of teams got worse in the NFC.
I know.
They probably figured, hey, we got a bit worse, but look what else happened around us. Basically, our chances of being a Super Bowl team are unchanged. Now, that being said, their chances of winning in the Super Bowl, probably not great.
Their chances of winning in the NFC Championship game got a lot worse because the Rams are good and the Bucs are still really good.
If you look around the NFC, though, like, this is what blows my mind, and we can wrap up here soon, but this is what blows my mind about Cardinals fans and the way that they act towards Kyler Murray. Is he the best young quarterback in the NFC by like a pretty wide margin?
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't even know who else is competing with him off the top of my head.
I don't either.
It's Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Matt Stafford, all these guys who are older.
Young quarterbacks, it's based. I mean,
Jalen Hurts.
You don't consider Dak Prescott young.
Dak is kind of right in between, but I guess if you had to choose, he would be.
He's not young.
He's not on the Matt Stafford,
This is
Tom Brady,
he's not
Aaron
about
Rodgers
to retire.
it's year 7
Right.
for him,
Right.
so he's in his prime. But yeah, young quarterbacks. You're talking Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Sam Darnold,
Yeah. That should make them excited.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Their window is going to open here in just a couple of years.
The other thing also with San Francisco sitting there, and there appears to be
Trey
not
Lance.
much of a market for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh.
If you're Kyle Shanahan, do you look around, take a view of the landscape of the NFC, and say, okay, look,
No.
if we have to play Trey Lance, we can still be a playoff team.
Oh, yes.
definitely.
I thought you were going to say, do you look around and say, well, we might as well just roll Jimmy G again?
I think this is a perfect opportunity to get Trey Lance in there and get him some confidence because you can probably be a playoff team with what you still have on that roster, kind of, bringing Trey Lance along bit by bit.
Boy,
Yeah.
did the 49ers mess up their handling of Jimmy G. Should have traded him last year if they could have got something. Should have traded him at the beginning of the offseason. Now there's no suitors.
I mean, they did make the NFC Championship.
Yeah, but that's not what they were playing for. They wouldn't
No.
have kept Jimmy G if that was their goal.
Yeah, no, I know. I just mean, like, the fact that they got there.
I really mean this year they messed it up. They should have traded him in January.
Who, I guess, who's more likely to be a starter in the NFL next year? Jimmy Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield?
Baker. He's younger.
Okay. What is happening? Why can't he go anywhere?
It's insane. I mean, it has to be Seattle, right? Because Panthers already said they're out on him.
I thought I saw reporting that they're not interested.
Yeah,
They believe in Drew Lock.
they're gonna ride Drew Lock.
I think they're going to draft someone if that's the case. And the number 9 overall pick,
By the way, if the Broncos needed a quarterback, something I simply cannot relate to, I would have been really hyped about Malik Willis's pro day yesterday.
and you know what I'm really hyped about is that we didn't have to care about that.
Me too. All right, I think that wraps it up for us today. You know what I love really quick? The comment section was popping today,
Yep.
and it wasn't like people going at each other's throats about
it's
things.
great.
Just,
It's
you know,
great.
talking about the Chiefs being dumb.
Peaceful, because now the AFC West is a little more peaceful with Tyreek out of
Yes,
here.
absolutely. So anyways, thanks to everyone who participated. Hit us with a thumbs up
So I'll
on
drop
your way
some
out.
peace signs
Yeah.
on our way out.
Drop some peace signs on your way out. And we'll catch you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast. Thanks again for tuning in.